Welcome back. You're still watching the Big Ten right here on Metropol TV. If you're just joining us, this is the Big Ten with yours truly, Nina Shaban. And as the countdown continues, we're now on number 5. This week also saw a number of companies in the financial services sector release their financial results. Most notable were results from the UAP Holdings, which moved back into profit territory during the first 6 months of this year to record a pre-tax profit of 517 million shillings, denoting a 16.3% growth in profitability. The result was largely achieved on the back of a reduction in the firm's staff and finance posts. UAP's operating expenses declined by 8% year-on-year to 2.2 billion shillings. However, the financial services firm's investment income declined by 7.7%, mainly due to the impact of property valuation write-downs. We spoke with the group CEO of UAP Holdings, Peter Mwangi. This is what he had to say about the company's performance.
We have made investments across various asset classes. So for the equities market, I'm sure you know the performance of securities exchange. Over the first half, we saw a decline in the overall level of the index. And also the property investments that we've made across the region continue to come under some sort of pressure as the property markets soften broadly. So we are taking a cautious view on the valuation of our properties to ensure that the carrying amounts on our book reflect the reality in the market.
But things are not looking quite as good in Kenya's insurance industry, where the uptake of insurance slowed down in 2018 to its lowest in 15 years. Now, the level of insurance penetration in Kenya dipped to 2.43% in 2018 from 2.7%, according to the latest annual report by the Association of Kenya Insurance. The report indicates that the growth of the insurance industry decelerated to 3.05% in 2018 from 6.45% in 2017. During that period, the insurance industry's gross written premium grew by 3% in 2018 to 216.11 billion shillings from 209.7 billion shillings in 2017. The insurance industry's net claims dropped marginally to 110.34 billion in 2018 compared to 110.70 billion in 2017. The insurance industry's overall profit before taxation, however, decreased by 58.34% to 5.02 billion in 2018. The insurance industry's total assets increased by 7.03% to 612.15 billion shillings, while its total liabilities increased by 9.21% to 498.32 billion shillings in 2018. Return on capital employed decreased by 57.68% from 10.42% in 2017 to 4.41% in 2018. Now, my colleague Simba Elijah Charles Kiage spoke to the Chief Executive Officer of APA Group, Ashok Shah, who spoke candidly about the weak state of Kenyan insurance companies.
Insurance, people will be very reluctant to take on a company which has got a bad, big liability book.
Yes.
When it's got a big liability book, none of us will be willing to take it because you have to have the assets to match that liability. But what will happen is that we will see mergers at maybe in the top 15 insurance companies. There will be likelihood of them getting together, so that what happens is that then we can create a much larger insurance company.
Staying in the financial services sector, KCB Group's proposed acquisition of the National Bank of Kenya took one more step into reality after the Central Bank of Kenya okayed the deal 5 months after KCB kicked off the process of wholly acquiring the 51-year-old bank. This came hot on the heels of the end of its offer to buy out the entire shareholding of NBK. KCB subsequently took control of NBK and picked Paul Russo as the designated managing director of NBK for the transitional 2-year period of NBK's integration into KCB. KCB is more specifically looking to access and consolidate its deposits with NBK's large portfolio of deposits, which would translate to a lower cost of funding for KCB post-acquisition. The combined balance sheet of the two banks will increase capacity for KCB to lend to a wider customer base. The merged entity, will have a unique opportunity to create a 1 trillion shillings balance sheet financial institution by the end of 2022. KCB's asset base as at 31st December 2018 stood at 714.3 billion shillings, while that of NBK stood at 114.8 billion shillings. However, KCB will have to contend with NBK's high loan loss ratio, which stood at 33.6% in 2018, nearly 3 times the industry average of 11.7%. The high level of loan impairment losses and limited income growth avenues have impacted on NBK's ability to post attractive profits. All right, the countdown continues. Let's turn our attention to another merger deal, only that this one has run into serious headwinds. I am referring to the proposed business merger between Telkom Kenya and Airtel Kenya that has been in the making since February this year. Now, this week, the proposed transaction turned into a war of words between Telkom Kenya and Safaricom after it emerged that Safaricom had written to the Communications Authority of Kenya to give its reservations to the deal.
Now, we have no quarrel with our colleagues at Safaricom. We are simply trying to restructure and improve our own businesses. It is unfortunate, however, that Safaricom now wants to delay this process that seeks to provide customers with credible options. Does the dominant player not want to see this sector grow?
On the merger between Airtel and what are our concerns, I don't think we should publicly say our concerns. This is a matter between Safaricom and the regulator.
But in a statement, Safaricom's interim chief executive officer Michael Joseph insisted that both Airtel and Telkom Kenya must first pay up 1.29 billion shillings that they owe Safaricom in fees for provision of various services, including interconnection, co-location and fiber services before they effect their business merger. But Telkom's chief executive officer Mugo Kibati accused Safaricom of attempting to sabotage the planned merger through delaying tactics. Safaricom has further said that there is need to rebalance the frequencies allocation to the telcos post-merger. Safaricom argues that Airtel Telkom will jointly hold 77.5 megahertz of spectrum against a customer base of 17.3 million compared to Safaricom's 57.5 megahertz with at most double the customer base at 31.8 million. Now, the telco contends that the transaction will create a disappropriation when it comes to an imbalance in the spectrum allocation, which will be inconsistent with the market shares. As at March this year, Telkom Kenya accounted for 7.9% of the country's mobile phone subscribers, behind Airtel's 26.1%, which ranks second, and Safaricom commands a 65% market share. Finally, the 3-month battle between the National Assembly and the Senate over how much should go to the counties has ended. This is after the Senate finally softened its hard stance towards the share of revenue to counties and agreed to an allocation of 316.5 billion shillings as proposed by the National Assembly. Senate Majority Leader Kipchumba Murkomen said the legislators made what he termed to be a painful decision in order to avert a looming shutdown in counties, saying counties were faced with the real prospect of shutting down their services, which would affect critical sectors such as agriculture and the health sector.
Pesa ambazo zinaenda counties government sio msaada, sio sadaka, sio ati umepeanwa na mtu fulani kwa county government. Ni pesa za mwananchi wa taifa la Kenya ambazo zinagawiwa kupitia kikatiba na bunge.
So the move follows a senators meeting that was called by the Senate Speaker Ken Lesaka. The Senate resolved to take the 316.5 billion shillings as contained in the published Division of Revenue Bill 2019, currently before a mediation committee of the two houses.
It is not enough, but it is progress, and the Senate will live to fight another day.
And so it appears that the sibling rivalry between the National Assembly and the Senate is far from ending. But anyway, that's it for this week's edition for the Big Ten. I'm your host, Nina Shaban. Thank you so much for keeping it Metropol TV. I'll be seeing you next week with another set of 10 big stories that will be making headlines in the course of that week. Enjoy the rest of your night as the weekend. Do not drink and drive. Stay blessed.